What's up you guys, my name is Michael Tandarich and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about, is co-working really the future? Now, for those of you who don't know, I actually had a co-working space, or almost had a co-working space, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. And I made a whole entire video on this, and as of right now, it actually has the most views out of my entire channel, and I'll link that video below. And you can see the exact details as to why I'm in my home office and not in a co-working space. But to give you a quick recap, basically 2 years ago, I really wanted to start building out my marketing agency and build it into an office space. However, I didn't have the funds to go and rent an actual office space, so that led me to going and getting a co-working space at Regus. And long story short, the experience I had with Regus was, well, really bad. I picked out an office space, I paid for it about 2 to 3 months worth. I got the office space finally after waiting for a month and a half. I walk into the office space, it still has holes everywhere, it's not painted correctly, and after weeks and weeks of waiting, they still didn't fix it, but they were still charging me to have that office space. I was actually able to work in a different section of the co-working space for like 3 days, but after weeks of waiting and not getting my office and them still charging my credit card, I just ended up saying, you know what, this is enough, I'm done with this poor customer service, and dropped having that Regus office space. However, unfortunately, they kept charging my card, and for the next year, I had to dispute and fight them with my credit card company, and by calling them probably like 1,000 times, to finally get them to stop charging my credit card and to give me my money back that I had spent on, well, nothing. I didn't get an office space, so nothing. So like I said, if you're thinking about going with Regus for anything, check the link in the description for my Regus video, and it goes into more detail as to why I wouldn't recommend Regus, and I go over my experience I had with them. So let's get to the question. Is co-working really the future? Are places like Regus or WeWork, are those places that are going to be around in the future? Now, for a while there was a time where a lot of contractors or freelancers or very small businesses wanted to get into co-working spaces to be able to interact with other businesses, to get out of the house, to be able to meet other people, and to really network. However, obviously with the current pandemic situation, that kind of has just been kaput. I know it kind of varies here and there, but basically no one's allowed to go into office spaces, and everyone is pretty much home. And I think what's happening is a lot of people are finding, especially companies and employees, are finding that working from home is actually possible. I've dealt with a lot of prospects and clients that wanted me to come into their office space so they could see my great face, and then they could work with me in person. However, because of this pandemic, it kind of forced everyone to go and try out the whole working remote thing. And for myself, I do all my work completely remote. And the people that I have working for me are all completely remote too. And so there's no need for a co-working space. And obviously I know going and working in an office space and seeing people on a daily basis is kind of like the old school way of doing it. And the trend was kind of going online. However, the pandemic really kind of pushed everything to the next step. So I really think it's not that good looking for co-working spaces right now, considering the fact that A, obviously during the pandemic, they can't really have people in there, and B, people are starting to taste the fact that they can work from home or work at an Airbnb or work wherever they want and not have to go into an office space. And so I don't think that really bodes too well for places like Regus. Now, another thing you have to think about too is from a productivity standpoint. When I was in that co-working space, the amount of times that I got pulled to the side by other people that just wanted to talk was just like mind-boggling. It was actually probably also a big reason as to why I just decided not to even go with the co-working space. Look, I'm always for a great conversation. I'm always for hanging out. However, when I'm working, I'm working. And if I spend an hour of my day trying to talk to other people, you know, when I'm getting up to go to the bathroom or going and getting coffee or water from the water fountain, and they're pulling me aside to talk to me about how their dog ate a tennis ball this past weekend, I don't know, then I'm wasting an hour that I could have been putting towards my work and making more money for me and my family. And so working remote, obviously there's Zoom meetings and Slack and those kind of things, but working remote pretty much stops those unneeded conversations. And obviously there are people that don't like to work as hard as I do, and they might like those conversations, and that's totally fine. But for me as an individual, I hate those conversations. I want to be productive, I want to get a lot of work done, I want to be successful, and having those stupid conversations about your dog eating a tennis ball this past weekend are completely pointless to me and a waste of breath. Another reason why I think co-working spaces are gonna start to die out is the fact that it cuts down on costs to have everyone completely remote. Obviously you need to pay for things like Slack and Google, the updated Google Drive or Dropbox or those kind of things. And you're already kind of paying for that when you run a company, but cutting out the expense of having an office space is like huge. When I was trying to get my space in Regus, it was about $1,000 a month to be able to have just a little room in that co-working space. Now obviously at the time I thought there was value in having an office space, being able to have my clients come to that office space and networking with other people. But we have pushed into this next realm of being completely online, completely digital, and to be able to have access to everyone at all times over the entire world totally beats spending $1,000 every single month to have a room to just meet, like, I don't know, the 10 or 15 or 30 other people in that building and hoping to network with them. I think another reason why co-working spaces are pretty much gonna go out the door is I think co-working spaces were a bridge from the old school way of doing it, of having an office, to going completely remote. Co-working spaces are like kind of like a glorified Starbucks, if you can call it that, where people felt like they were still in an office space. The old school people like having an office space, were able to put some of their freelancers or contractors or developers or whatever at those co-working spaces, so it didn't feel like you were losing any of that. However, I really think that the co-working space kind of is that bridge between going from the old school way of having an office to completely digital. Now, that all being said, do I think co-working spaces are gonna be completely done and kaput? No. I kind of hope that Regus is, but I'm just throwing that out there. No hate, you know. I've already got a lot of views off my Regus video, but like, no hate. That being said, I do think there are gonna be small businesses that have about 15 to 30 employees that will like having a co-working space and get those couple little office spaces at those co-working spaces to bring people into work. I mean, obviously on my end, I don't see the point in it if I'm a contractor or if I'm a freelancer or something like that, where I can literally spend the money and go get an Airbnb in Hawaii and work from there instead of going and working in a co-working space in Philly or something like that. I also recognize too that there are other people other than me that probably like that interaction of going and meeting other people, of hanging out with people during the day, spending time having the water cooler talk. And I think that will also kind of keep co-working spaces open. But overall, I think at the end of the day, I think co-working spaces are great. However, I think that they're definitely not gonna be on that high upward trend that they were before this pandemic hit. And I think we're also going into a world where pretty much everyone's gonna be completely remote, which in my opinion is awesome. So if you like this video, make sure to like it below. I would greatly appreciate it. And also subscribe. And if you subscribe, comment below that you have subscribed so I can comment back and interact with you. I like building up my community here on my YouTube videos, and as I grow to thousands of subscribers, hopefully, I'd like to build that up and get to know everyone. So if you subscribe, make sure you comment below that you have subscribed, and I'll comment back. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video, and I'll see you in the next one.